Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to International Affairs, of course, being broadcasted from Gulshan's Dhaka studio as well. My name is Shamsul Alam Pantha, and I will bring you all the latest updates regarding international geopolitics. Of course, it is important because today is the 29th of January. As this month concludes, we have seen so many narratives go up. Of course, the US president has made sure of capturing Nicolas Maduro, the leader of Venezuela, as well as having an armada being stationed in the Persian waters right in front of Iran. Before I begin this discussion, let me introduce all my panelists today. In the studio, we have Ahmed Alvi, who joins us as International Affairs commentator. I welcome you onto the studio, as well as Norman Floyd Barnes, who joins us from Washington, D.C. I want to begin this conversation today with Norman Floyd Barnes. I know that U.S. President Donald Trump has weighed in heavy options against Iran, and he is trying to broker a deal with the Iranian side. Of course, that includes Iran not to have any kind of nuclear weapons. I want to know more from Norman Floyd Barnes.
Greetings from Washington today. It appears through all my contacts is that the United States is staging and preparing for a attack on Iran. There's several different scenarios. We don't know, but it's all based on the issue that the talks between the nuclear facilities and their program has broken down. And in light of the turmoil in the country, it appears that all forces and all indications that in a response from the United States is imminent. So there we go. We're waiting when and how all the pieces are in place. Jordan, the neighboring GCC countries, they are all prepared, and the military is waiting, and the planes are in the air.
Right. I believe the assessment regarding Middle East is it's going to take some time to understand the war plan or the plan of Donald Trump, how he is going to make sure of disarming the Iranian side from nuclear weapons. While we were waiting, we are now joined by Professor Rizwana Karim Snigdha. Of course, I must welcome you onto the program. It's good to see you after a long while. Thank you for being here. We were talking with Norman Floyd Barnes regarding Iran. We know, as per the latest news, that there is a massive armada, joint forces of ships in the Persian Gulf. It is disrupting the Strait of Hormuz, or right in front of the Strait of Hormuz. We see a nation like Saudi Arabia is giving us a chilling warning that its land and its air will not be used to attack Iran. I want to understand more from Professor Rizwana Karim.
Thank you. For me, the situation is something like that is for signaling something. Okay, so we are in a stage where I can remember maybe 2 weeks ago I told you that we are in a post-Cold War, or we are in a Cold War situation which is not declared. But when USA takes such a position and USA do such a thing where they want to attack Iran, Saudi Arabia has two types of pressure. First pressure, we all know Saudi Arabia have a very good connection with US as well. This is the first thing.
Right.
And the other thing is that being a Muslim majority country, or Muslim country, what I supposed to say, it is also another pressure for Saudi Arabia. If Saudi is not saying anything at that moment, he might be left out. It might be left out from Muslim Brotherhood as well, or maybe people who are going to accuse Saudi Arabia or those things. So for me, if you honestly asking, I feel Saudi Arabia, because of that pressure, they might say this thing, but Saudi is very diplomat in another way. Because if you saw continuously regarding the case of Gaza, I never found Saudi in a diplomatic space very strong voice or say anything regarding this. Also, in the case of, there's another issue already in Saudi, in UAE, Sudan is going on over there. And Sudan is another case where they have a signified interest with that thing as well. So for me, Saudi want to be diplomatically, they want to be safe. So they came very safe. So what they say, they are not going to use their air or sea for the attacking Iran. I appreciate it, but if you're going to ask me, I'm not very much convinced enough. Maybe they said it, but I don't think they mean it. Maybe it's a strategic, diplomatic policy statement.
There is a push and a pull regarding Middle East, as I see with Donald Trump's administration, and that is the question I want to ask with Ahmed Alvi. There is 22 bases that belong to the U.S. in the Middle East, all of which are stationed in around Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, and vice versa, and many more. But all of these bases do not seem to be functional, and some of the personnel from the Qatar's Al Udeid Air Base, a couple of days ago, even last week, we've seen massive troops going back to their original camps or their stationed countries. But leaving these such bases, and then the rhetoric, there is almost about 4 USS military aircraft carriers that are stationed all together, being called an armada. And right now, I understand that attack could be imminent, but the US had to spend a lot of cash, a lot of millions of dollars for moving this entire fleet from the South China Sea to the Middle East. Do you predict that there could be an escalation in the region?
As far as to say escalation, I think it could, as I would also agree that we're in that Cold War state, in the sense like the escalation could have peaked to some extent, rather than, because I don't think US will straight out attack Iran in any way possible in other situation, invasion. This could potentially be like a threat to them. Either listen to us or here's all our missiles and all our weapons to bully you. But other than that fear factor that works, I don't think it's anything more than that. Trump, I think, understands this point. Like, it's okay to threat them. Like, Trump gives around threat to almost anyone. He doesn't come either through some economic policy like sanctions, or something militarily like as if we see with Venezuela and right now Iran. So I think this is just Trump boasting the national military spending of US. Other than that, I don't think there will be anything of an actual forthcoming attack or invasion.
Of course, such as the news suggests as well, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps commander Muhammad Akbarzadeh is saying, as I quote, Iran is not seeking war, but it is fully prepared. And of course, this preparation, it has many months of backing. Last summer, we've seen the US B-2 bombers dropping a massive ordnance bomb on the nuclear facilities. It has stopped the nuclear program, as the US administration was very close to understanding that Iran was only days away from developing a nuclear warhead. So that was the bottom line regarding this issue. But I want to focus on another issue that is very important for common Americans regarding America's policy. Of course, I'm talking about the Immigrations and Authority, the ICE issue regarding Minnesota. And of course, Donald Trump's government is now looking at a de-escalation to the situation. And it will be very hard to solve, as protesters are still protesting the shooting of 2 Americans, both who are 37, one female and one male, who have been killed in the hands of ICE. So I want to ask this following question to Norman Floyd Barnes. It is a very difficult time. Tomorrow we are expecting to see a federal shutdown as well. We know that the winter storm has taken to the northeastern sides of USA. Of course, it's important to understand how the administration sees. I know for a fact that Secretary Noem is facing a lot of backlash, as well as Bovino, Mr. Bovino, who actually is the leader of this border guard patrol. So I want to understand more from Mr. Norman Floyd Barnes.
Yes, there have been several changes in an attempt to influence and have an impact on Congress, who's prepared to deal with the final agreements on the budget. However, this situation with ICE has stopped everything. The killing of the 2 American citizens in Minnesota and the tactics used by the ICE agents has brought attention to how we police, how we do things in the United States. The majority of Americans do not have an issue with security. They do not have an issue with law enforcement. They do not even have an issue with the border control issues. But the issues is with the tactics used by ICE and the the appearance that the commander in chief is using a bully type of approach dealing with U.S. citizens. Consequently, the Congress, the House, and the Senate representatives are being pressured by the citizens to take action. One of the issues is that the ICE funding and Homeland Security funding actually is directly tied into the budget approval. As you know, we was talking about healthcare last year. The Congress, particularly the Senate, has stated the Democratic Party, which they need the votes, has stated they will not tolerate the current state of Homeland Security utilizing ICE. They want that funding pulled out of the budget. They want major reforms. They moved the commander back to his position in border control, and they're looking for impeachment of the secretary of that area, and they want a sweeping change to the point some talking about actually repurposing and reshaping and eliminating the actual term ICE. So right now, these issues are being put to the test with Congress. The president and his administration is trying to figure out a solution. But right now, with the vote pending in the next 28, 48 hours, it appears that the government will have a problem going into the next session, and we are looking at a partial shutdown, if they cannot take out the Homeland Security funding from the bill. Even if they do come to a term, the agreement would only last until September of this year. We have to revisit this whole situation. So right now, it appears that there will be some type of hold-up, pause, and some issues regarding the funding for the United States government, all because of this situation, this tension going on with ISIS and the ICE techniques. Yesterday, they made an additional 20 arrests of people involved in the protests in Minnesota. So, yes, there's talk about slowing it down and de-escalation, but the tactics and the actions has not. Protests are continuing and enforcement is also continuing. So right now we're looking at in my assessment, all the proportions and all the conditions for a conflict within the United States between the federal government and the states.
I must thank Norman Floyd Barnes for this brilliant, outstanding observation. And of course, coming back to the studio with Ahmed Alvi, you were hearing Norman Floyd Barnes regarding the American politics, the scenario. We are looking at another federal government shutdown, and this time the two agents that were responsible of killing of Mr. Alex Pretty, who was an intensive care nurse. That does not sound as threatening as a domestic terrorist, if I would call it. But the two agents that were involved, they are given administrative leave. Of course, this is to save them from any kind of public retribution. And of course, we also see that there could be a federal shutdown. But if none of the 12 appropriation bills that make up the federal discretionary spending budget, until it passes the both chambers, the government fully shuts down. So that will have create a havoc for the United States of America, given the fact all they have done this month, all their spending regarding military posturing, if you would call it. These are important for Donald Trump's administration, and people are not seeing eye to eye with his administration or him as they did in his first term. So I want to understand, what's your observation?
Well, especially when it comes to the fiscal policy, the American fiscal policy, I think it's quite interesting, because Trump has all these tariff initiatives where he's trying to plow in like government revenue, which is great. But then again, you see him with the like the US military expansion across the world, as well as you see domestically the funding that ICE is getting, right? And we also have to understand how there is the US $1 trillion deficit, which keeps on growing almost every day. So the question is, I don't think Trump actually understands how to manage a country's fiscal budget like that. I think it was last week when we were discussing how he wanted to fire Jerome Powell, mainly
Federal chair, Federal Reserve chair.
Yeah, mainly because the Fed chair doesn't want to cut interest rates, so which would actually be worse. So I don't think Trump is processing very well how to do the entire fiscal budgeting for the country, and maybe that's why the shutdown is out. The shutdown is never needed. Actually, the shutdown should be avoided at all cost. But I don't think right now the Democrats and the Republicans see eye to eye when it comes to how to spend their budget. And hence, I guess a shutdown like this is, well, it's usually inevitable. If not now, maybe in the next year or next time there's a budget discussion again.
Of course, the Americans and the American administration is in a default position, and I want to turn my attention to Professor Rizwana Karim Snigdha. We were hearing both Ahmed Alvi and Norman Floyd Barnes, and I know for a fact that the course of your study or the material that you teach and the material that you know includes human behavior. And I want to understand, how do you see the last 29 days, Donald Trump's decision making, not only in Venezuela, Latin America, as well as Middle East? The entire world seems to be at a crosshair because of his decision making. I want to understand that. Do you see there is some kind of behavioral aspects in Donald Trump that is affecting the common American people?
Now, the thing is that it's not only about Donald Trump. If you see the globally, and I can see his very impatience. Whenever he came, you can see that he is pretty much impatient, and also somehow along the line, American people or citizens, they usually say Donald Trump is very much patriotic, only think about his country, so people actually find fun on him, giving a very entertainment or something like that, because each and every nation has different sort of test or different sort of criteria, what type of leadership they are looking for. So it is from the outside perspective, it is really very hard to believe that the Trump will come for the second time, because people don't expect him, but he did it, he made it. That means there are definitely some issues over there. But the question is that not only this time, there are different area and zone has been working together against Donald Trump. If you're just focusing on, just maybe 2 days ago, India has signed a very big deal. That is, should I feel good or bad? Because I don't feel very good about it, because it was really a huge deal. Like they are calling it all mothers deal or something like that. With
FTA, a free trade agreement.
Yeah, free trade with European Union. So it is a very big deal, and this deal has been only possible because of Donald Trump. Because India was working for this deal last 20 years, but they didn't made it. But because of, though they didn't openly say this thing, but we can understand if you follow the fact what is happening over there, because of this tariff and all those issue, India make a massive investment opportunity through this deal. That is alarming for I must say. But that is happened because of Donald Trump. See the one side. Now, if you go to other side, you will see China, Qatar, and other country. They are also pretty much interested to invest, even though in our country, there is another project is going on. Maybe 2 days ago, BIDA, they have said the military academy investing zone in Chittagong.
Right.
And they are planning to invest in here, making some weapons. They want to interest. China is interested, Qatar is interested, and Turkey is also interested. Maybe right now you're going to tell me that there's a different position of mine, whether it's benefited or not. But the fact is that why they're interested, I find, again, that is also connected with Donald Trump as well.
Right.
American policy. See, another issue. Third, what is happening over others, say, Russia is not sitting down over there. They have planning for other perspective.
Right.
Denmark, in the parliament, everybody was
Is
laughing.
Everyone was laughing at the fact
Yeah.
at Donald Trump's decision making regarding Greenland and how the word taco had come about. Donald Trump, Trump always chickens out. And so I have to mention how the Danish parliament was laughing at this whole debacle.
It was really, everybody was laughing. It was very, I never seen such a thing regarding the president of America. So this all the situation, if you talk about human behavior, if I say very positive, Trump is a person, maybe he is attention seeker because everyone is talking about him right at this moment. Usually the European Union, they have a very, even I found UK, they are also pretty much interested to do something because of Donald Trump.
They're annoyed, as far as I know.
With the
Keir
China
Starmer
deal.
is
Yeah,
meeting
with China.
Chinese.
They are going to China.
Currently, the PM of United Kingdom is in
Yeah,
China,
in
and
China,
there are much more updates regarding that. But I enjoyed your commentary regarding Donald Trump's behavior. But it is time for a short commercial break, and after the break, we will also talk about the EU-India deal as well as UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer's visit to China. Ladies and gentlemen, do stay with us as we head for a short commercial break.
সারা দেশে লাখো মানুষের কঠোর কর্মতৎপরতা ও নিষ্ঠায় এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন 16 কোটি মানুষের হাতের নাগালে। দীর্ঘ 30 বছর ধরে বিশ্বস্ততা ও দ্রুততার সাথে সেবা দেওয়ায় গ্রাহক সেবায় এখন শীর্ষে। বাংলাদেশে গ্রাহক সেবার সাফল্যের পর এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন বিশ্ব বাণিজ্য কেন্দ্র সিঙ্গাপুরে। আপনার যে কোনো পণ্য সিঙ্গাপুর থেকে বাংলাদেশে বুকিং এর জন্য যোগাযোগ করুন। এসএ পরিবহন প্রাইভেট লিমিটেড, লজিস্টিক্স পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস, 22 রবার্টস লেন, সিঙ্গাপুর 218302। ফোন 0065 629 24900। বাংলাদেশ থেকে সিঙ্গাপুরে পণ্য বুকিং এর জন্য যোগাযোগ করুন ঢাকা সহ দেশের যে কোনো 80টি শাখা কেন্দ্রে। এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস, আপনার সেবা সব সময়।
Welcome, Grand Palace Hotel, Dhaka. A majestic lobby blending timeless elegance with modern design. Experience 5-star comfort in suites and rooms. Sophisticated fine dining restaurant. Crystal clear swimming pool for ultimate relaxation. Modern gym and serene spa for well-being. Perfect venue for corporate events, weddings and parties. Seamless and secured. Elegant and eye-catching design. Indulge, relax, discover the first 5-star chain hotels in Bangladesh. Grand Palace Hotel Dhaka, 22 Kakrail, Dhaka, Bangladesh.
Welcome to Grand Club at Mirpur 10 Dhaka. Elegant spa and wellness facility for ladies and gents.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to International Affairs. Today I'm joined with Professor Rezwana Karim Snigdh in the studio, alongside Ahmed Alvi joining us as International Affairs commentator. We also have Norman Floyd Barnes from Washington, D.C., our geopolitical correspondent. I want to focus on a different angle right now. We know that when the jargon came about regarding Greenland, we've seen the adverse reactions from people like our nations like the United Kingdom, Denmark, and the entirety of the EU. And ever since then, regarding the narrative regarding Greenland has gone down, and we do not hear about Greenland as much. Before the break, Professor Rezwana Karim was implying about the fact that Danish parliamentarians were laughing regarding this issue. But that is not the story that I want to ask Norman. I want to begin with Keir Starmer's visit in China. And of course, this visit is of a 3-day visit. It is important to understand how the UK-China relationship is going on in the future and as of today. So I want to ask Norman Floyd Barnes, do you think this is a positive time for change for the European nations, especially because NATO was being discussed, the attack or the rhetoric regarding Greenland was important, and EU is now looking forward to other alliances other than the Western alliance? I want to understand more from Norman Floyd Barnes.
Thank you. It appears that the efforts of the Trump administration has triggered a shift in how the world conducts day-to-day business. The tariffs and the military actions of the United States recently has forced the European Union and other nations to confront its own issues. Stated in the U.S. policy that the U.S. wants to, as moving forward, focus on a Western Hemisphere focus and an America first. Okay, that's the situation has been played out, and so that means, and what that tells the European Union and other people in the world, that they must find their own way. The deal with India, which is called the Miller deals. China has already stated that they are there to be the alternatives. So naturally, Canada, other countries that have been affected by the tariffs, is looking for alternatives to do day-to-day business. So what you're going to see, additional deals like what's happening with the mother deal with India and the EU, you will see additional coordinations and trade agreements will be done with countries like China, Brazil, India, even the EU and other parts. So in this big picture, this could be viewed as a positive outcome for the future. Yes, right now it's going to be some issues, some difficulties, and even some struggles. But in the big picture, I think the world will be better in terms of dealing, and it was also create a atmosphere of communications. And with that, when you're talking and you're communicating, military conflicts is something that is not desired, because we know if there's a war or something like that goes on, the trade and commerce is not flowing. So everybody is looking at alternative or ways of doing business and avoid conflict, both Cold War, hard war conflicts. So this will have an effect on how the Trump administration moves forward. Even though their policy is focused on America first, they will now have to look at the world first. How do we fit in? How do we participate? How we support the situation, and at the same time meet our needs? So other countries are now looking at options. Free trade is a great thing. Free trade will be the idea of the future. And I see, in spite of all of these military and these conflict issues, the option of now neighbors are talking to other neighbors and not depending on what we call the Western or the U.S. way. They're looking at now how we can do our own way and make ourselves more prosperous, and at the same time create peace. That is the peace when you can communicate, you can do free trade, you can do business, and you don't have to worry about someone putting a tariff on you or having a military armada breathing down your throat.
A brilliant observation by Norman Floyd Barnes. I must thank him for being on the show. Due to time restrictions, I do not think I can keep him any longer on the program. But He has provided us with such important discussion topics. Certainly, when one mentions a free trade agreement, I have to reassess the fact that in this geopolitical scenario, nothing is for free. There is some give and take that happens in regards to trade and, of course, understanding how it affects our region. One cannot ignore the fact that EU has signed a trade deal with one of our neighbors, India. And that should be an alarm bell for us, because we are also a nation that manufactures a lot of elements for the entire world, especially RMG, ready-made garments, as well as other elements that we export. I want to ask the professor in the studio, you were hearing Norman Floyd Barnes and his understanding of how the US now must think of making the world great again. That's what their tariffs have done. It caused alliances or weird alliances between other partners. Today we see the leader of the United Kingdom, the UK Prime Minister in China. One can definitely imagine that it is a very different time than what we are used to. I want your observations regarding this trade deal with our neighbor and the European Union.
Okay, the thing is that, every coin has a two-part, right? So, if you saw economically in terms of investment or development or something like that, and most importantly, politically, economically showing the power through this trade, that is the best part that India has been received. Because, in right now, last couple of years, India has been through a very bad diplomatic or political situations surrounding whatever their neighbors or something like that.
Right.
You can see that it has a continuous tension between China and India, Pakistan, India, Maldives, India, and now Bangladesh, India. So it was not a very good situation for India. And also, people used to think before Donald Trump came in, people thought that maybe Trump and Modi has a very good relationship, it will come with a magic. But somehow it comes with other way around, because India has another relationship with Russia and Ukraine when they are taking oil from them.
Right.
So putting on the tariff also give the opportunity to maybe Donald Trump thought that, okay, this is a very good way to get his power among those countries. But India somehow having a trade with European Union, it gives the opportunity that India now show that he is not left alone. He got some sort of power. This is the benefit. Another benefit also is that, of course, lots of tariff has been just down. All the European Union product will be very much available, pretty available over there. True. Again, it create a huge opportunity for India that they also bring their local product to EU market as well. So they will take a new market, expand their horizon. So these are the thing is good thing. But I must say, the capitalist point of view, this is okay. But in India, there are many people also are socialist. They are talking about the people who are poor, because when capitalism raise, then poor people become more poorer. And also, India is such a country, I must tell you that whatever they are produced, even they are very much rich for their farming or agri, but in India, many farmers died every single day. They committed suicide because they don't have food to eat.
Right.
So that is a very sad part of it. So the other part of the coin is that whenever this type of trade happens, it severely affects those marginal people. So that is the other part, because this can be very good opportunity for the people like Adani and Ambani, but
Right.
this is not a very good opportunity for that poor farmer or that poor woman who are fighting or struggling for everyday lives. So it create imbalance within the India that might create chaos among them. And the most important thing, for such a trade, it might make you globally powerful. It might make a couple of the people very powerful, because you see, even I was so irritated last year, maybe 2 years ago, when Ambani's younger son was getting married, and our algorithm
And the entire show of wealth was just very uncanny. I remember.
It was like, I don't know how is it possible, when what is the reason behind that? People can get married, okay, fine, But the way you have been circulated all those things and make people bound to watch such a stupidity, I'm so sorry for that.
No,
I didn't
completely
enjoy
alright.
myself. But the fact is that this practice will be much more higher for those type of trade or
course.
something like that. So
Brilliant.
that is an issues, and also it will be interesting, but at the same time I must say, whatever is it, that's the saddest part. As a neighbor country, I always not feeling good about our investment or our connection with the global world in
Right.
terms of any trade or something that, because our internal chaos is so much unfriendly for outsider investment. I must say that is, and that gives the opportunity to make all those trade with that country. I must,
course.
because of course I support Gaza. I think everybody support Gaza if anybody has a little bit of a sense of humanity or anything. You don't need to be a Muslim for that, okay? But at the same time, I want to say that is insane. Because of supporting Gaza, you are just breaking Bata or some other stuff and just stealing some shoes, and this is insane. This is not
No,
support
that has
for
happened
those things.
in the last couple of months in Bangladesh. I've seen in Sylhet that happening. I remember, I recall that very incident. And I've been watching you, Professor, in other programs as well, and I share the same kind of distorting imagination regarding our nation as well. It is time for a short commercial break. After the break, I will begin with Ahmed Alvi. I know you were consuming all the knowledge that was being spread around in the studio and across Zoom. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a short break. After the break, there's more to talk about.
Play pool and snooker in International Standard Billiard Zone. World-class gym facility with exclusive equipment for man and woman. A restaurant of delicious local and international cuisine. Fully air-conditioned building with spacious banquet, car lift, sky view rooftop restaurant, all in one. Grand Club Limited, Mirpur 10.
ভালোবাসা একবার তুমি বউ কইয়া ডাকো।
হ্যাঁ গো,
আর কত দূর?
আরে আমি তো ফিডের গাড়ির লগে।
তোমার গরু হাঁস মুরগি মাছ তো অনশন শুরু কইরা দিছে।
কি কও? অনশন শুরু কইরা দিছে?
কেডা?
হাঁস মুরগি মাছ।
আরে ওগো মতি গতি দেখা মনে হইতাছে এসএফএন ছাড়া কিছুই খাইবো না।
হ্যাঁ গো, এসে ফিডের খবর ওরা জানলো কেমনে?
আরে ভালো জিনিসের খবর ছড়াতে কি আর মাইক লাগে? খবর ভাসে বাতাসে বাতাসে।
আরে দেখো, এসে ফিডের জাদু।
সম্পূর্ণ নিজস্ব তত্ত্বাবধানে বিশেষজ্ঞদের সমন্বয়ে প্রস্তুত।
Welcoming all our viewers back onto the last segment of International Affairs. I was joined by Norman Floyd Barnes, and in the studio we have Professor Rizwana Karim Snigdha and Ahmed Alvi, who I would like to begin with. You were hearing about the EU-India trade deal and how the EU Commissioner President Ursula von der Leyen, she said that it is a historic day deepening the partnership between the world's biggest democracies. But I beg to differ. There are so many issues that make that nation different from a democracy. I want to begin at the war front because I enjoy that kind of commentary. We've seen how they have fought with Pakistan for over 2 weeks. Their water sharing agreement went down the drain. They still are, it's a problem. The US says that it was the US who brokered a ceasefire between India and Pakistan. But then India says it was not the US. So where are they not seeing eye to eye? And especially in the backdrop of this EU-India trade deal, we were talking with the professor and she had varied remarks regarding this. How do you What's your take? How do you see this?
Okay, so first let's talk about the war or between India and Pakistan or whatever's going on. Now that has been going on for a while, and that will go on for quite a long time. The ceasefires will come and go. Politicians here and there, America will try to take credit for everything, as they have always done
Historically.
in any global affair. So we could say that that's an ongoing project for the long term. Back to the trade deal. Now, one of the things which is great is there has been like some US isolation, right? Now, basically, as other currencies fall against the dollar, right, it's easier to trade along with countries with cooler heads, let's say. So, and also countries where policies would be more stable. You would see the EU is not posing some kind of tariff or embargo every time like an argument goes wrong, right? So there's a potential long-term benefit of stability when it comes to a trade agreement, and what is better is India is actually the only country with a population growth. So when it comes to all things regarding exporting or buying things at like low prices, I don't think India and China are the only two competitors left. So, and also the fact that they're having some dissociation with the US, and well, the friendliness hasn't been, it's quite eroding between Modi and Trump, let's just say. So what would be clear is this policy and this trade deal all goes in how can we stabilize ourselves if US is not talking to us, or if US is giving us the cold shoulder.
Right.
And that's basically the basis of large trade agreements like this.
Of course, a move away from the US has caused this kind of alliance, EU and India. They are thousands of miles apart in territory. So I must understand what kind of exploitation is going to happen. India is going to produce all of these materials, and EU is going to exploit all of these things that they create. But I want to focus on Bangladesh as we come to the end of the program. We are 13 days away from the so-called election and referendum, and people are broken between to choose on yes and choose on no. There remains a lot of tension regarding this issue as political violence is ramping up as of yesterday. I want to ask Professor Rizwana Karim Snigdhe. I know you're an educator and you study and you enjoy teaching, and you of course talk about dissent and any kind of dissent that follows. I want to understand what are your aspirations for the upcoming election. Do you think that it is going to be, it's weirdly timed as well. It's right before month of Ramadan, 5-6 days before Ramadan. So how to understand the situation that is coming up next month?
This is from international to local perspective. I'm not so happy, and I'm not so feeling the pleasure that after so long we have an election. I wish I could say, yes, after so long we are going to have election, but whatever the situation is, it's not only about the political parties, it's not only about the Ramadan or something like that, it's far more than that, because I want to remember that more than 1,000 of people has been died in July, and with a hope, with a desire of where we have a society with a new thing, undiscrimination, but it's all just vanished away. It was a once in a blue moon some nation get the opportunity in such a way, but it's really very shameful for us that we cannot make it. And now we are in the same situation where we lies before. Maybe it sounds very harsh, but that's the truth. No matter what, that who is here and who is not, the fact is that the people who are here, the way they act and what is going on, even yesterday a candidate has been died. I'm so sorry.
He was slaughtered by the opposition figures.
Yeah, it's really very sorry, but I don't know who killed it, opposition or the undergrounded or whatever. But what is it? Is this the reason that more than 1,000 of our students died? I said no. Is this the reason? Because I'm a woman, if I'm not my statement not following to you, you are cyberbullying me, you are slut shaming, you are doing all those things. Is this the reason that that time all those people died and even we were there? No. but nothing has been changed. Is the law enforcement agency is working neutrally? Is our law, our system, or anything? Can you tell me one single sector has been fixed up by this more than 1 year? The answer is no.
No.
Then this is very frustrating for me. No matter what, this election for me remains the same, with lots of comedy as well, because even the what is the minister's name? I don't know. He said, if you're going to ask him something, he said that Hadi has been killed. He said, did you see the potatoes price is raising?
You're talking about the Home Minister. Yeah, no, he will definitely not take a question regarding politics in a agricultural meeting. Yes.
Yes, it's raising. And also, he said that there's lots of guns has been looted during 5th August. And he said, I promise you that looted guns will never be used in the election. That means you know that. Then if you know that, why the guns is there? So these all the things is happening over here. I'm very sorry, with due respect, this is very frustrating situation for me. Yes, election is there. I'll be very happy if I really want to vote, or at least I could find any hope, or if I can say any one single thing where some system has been changed, so that that life, that sacrifice is justified. It's just a very sad part of the history.
Of course, I want to have, I must thank you for your excellent commentary. I want to have a last comment by Ahmed Alvi. How do you think about voting? What is your aspirations? Will you be going to the voting centers nearby your place? What do you think?
The question actually lies in, will my vote be given for me, or will I get allowed to vote? Because that's what I'm actually looking forward to.
That is a huge statement coming from Ahmed Alvi. I must thank him for his brilliant statement. I must also thank Professor Rezwana Karim Snigdha for her contribution and brilliant insight on this program today. And I must mention Norman Floyd Barnes, who had previously joined us through Zoom. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a very exciting month. Me as the host of this program, as I will continue to host this program in the coming days, I must thank all my viewership. I must thank the production team for being so excellent and on point, for queuing me in every day on this program. So once again, I must thank all the people. As I draw a closure, today is 29th of January. In this day in history, in 1886, an automotive revolution has taken place. Carl Benz applied for a patent for the motorized vehicle, which is considered the first successful gasoline-driven car. Ladies and gentlemen, I shall see you all on February 1st.